This painting is called Fulfilling His Last Duty, said Ervink. It illustrates one's duty to raise high the flag, to never let it fall. This is what it means to be a good German. A good German is loyal, honorable, brave, courageous, willing to sacrifice himself for his country. Helmuth knows these things. He knows that a good German puts loyalty and self-sacrifice ahead of all personal things, but there is something about the drowning naval soldiers that bothers Helmuth. He raises his hand to speak. Ervink calls on him, and Helmuth stands. Wouldn't it be better, sir, to grab a piece of the floating wood, even if it means letting go of the flag? This way you might live to fight another day for your country. This enrages Ervink. He pinches his lips shut for a moment, and then he finally speaks. His words are clipped and cutting. Sit down! You have completely failed to understand a soldier's duty. The greatest honor for any soldier is to die for his country rather than to let the flag fall. For the flag represents the fatherland, and if a flag falls, Germany falls. Is this what you want? No, sir, says Helmuth. He feels embarrassed and confused. You are a troublemaker. I shall mark this down in your party record book. I should mark this down in your party record book, but I will not. Instead, you have earned the class an extra homework assignment. Ervink announces that the class must write a 500-word essay with the title, Adolf Hitler, Savior of the Fatherland. Helmuth's classmates cast angry glances at Helmuth as they snap open their notebooks and copy down the title. Helmuth tries to make sense of what just happened. He opens his notebook, dutifully copies down the assignment as anger swells inside him. Anger that Herr Vink misunderstood his question. Anger that Herr Vink now thinks him a coward. Anger and humiliation beat inside Helmuth with a pulse all their own. That night, Helmuth sits at the kitchen table feeling dark, chewing on his pencil. His paper is blank except for its title and opening sentence. It wasn't fair the way Herr Vink twisted Helmuth's question, the way Herr Vink made the whole class suffer. Now the entire class is angry at Helmuth, and who can blame them? Helmuth could kick himself for raising his hand, for asking a question. Hugo Hubner comes up from behind. He rests his hand on Helmuth's shoulder, startling him. Hugo's hand feels gentle but strong. Hugo leans over Helmuth's shoulder and reads the first sentence out loud. God has blessed our fatherland by giving us Adolf Hitler. He squeezes Helmuth's shoulder in approval. A good start, my boy. Helmuth cringes. He hates it when Hugo calls him my boy. His homework mocks God, says Gerard, matter-of-factly. He doesn't look up from his physics book. Now 17, Gerard has begun classes at the Technicum, where he studies electrical engineering. He's seldom home anymore, since he also works at the Mutzen Fabrik, a factory that makes stiff military hats, the kind with the visor in front. The long hours and hot, smelly work make him tired and cross. Helmuth wishes that his other brother was home too, to say what he thinks. But Hans is a shipbuilding apprentice at the dockyards, and Helmuth rarely sees him at all. God and country go together, says Hugo. They do, says Gerard, but that essay isn't about God and country. It makes an idol out of Hitler, and anyone who makes an idol out of a leader mocks God. It does not mock God, says Hugo. The fatherland is a gift to us from God, and God has blessed the fatherland by giving us a leader like Hitler, who has the strength and resolve to lead Germany out of this mess. You should honor your country, and that means honoring your leaders. Doesn't that church of yours teach you anything? Helmuth feels anger rise inside at Hugo's biting remark. Hugo isn't a Mormon. How dare he criticize their church? Hugo doesn't even go to church, not even when Moody pleads. Gerard's eyes brighten the way they always do when he stands up to Hugo. I do honor my country, Hugo, the way my church tells me I should. Every day I honor my country by obeying, honoring, and sustaining its laws. I am a good German, no matter what I think of the Fuhrer. Are you insulting the Fuhrer? Demands Hugo. No, says Gerard. I am insulting that essay. Helmuth can't take the arguing anymore. He can't afford a bad grade or a bad mark in his party record. Book, because that would keep him from getting a good job later on. And so, before Hugo can respond, Helmuth smacks his hand against the table. It's my homework, he shouts, and I'll write what I need to write. Hugo and Gerard stop arguing. They are surprised at Helmuth's outburst. A savior is someone who rescues someone or something from harm or danger. Helmuth begins. That's what Hitler has done. He has rescued the fatherland from poverty, unemployment, and inflation, just as he promised he would. Hugo's eyes widen with pleasure, but Gerard doesn't say a word. He stacks his books loudly and stalks out the door. He yanks the door handle hard and then lets the door slam behind him. The slamming door sounds like a pistol shot. Helmuth looks to Moody, who is standing in the kitchen doorway. He wants her to say something, to defend Gerard, because that's what mothers do for their children, but she doesn't. Suddenly, Helmuth can't remember the last time she spoke up for one of them. Hugo always has the final word, and now Helmuth feels just as cowardly. He doesn't speak up for Gerard either. Moody's face crumples. She lowers herself onto the couch, buries her face in her hands. Why can't you two let each other be? Why must you fight? Hugo sits beside her, draws her to him, kisses the top of her head. Men like to fight, he says. That's the way we are. It's in our blood. But don't worry. Gerard will come around. You'll see. And then to Helmuth, Hugo beams. But you, my boy, have the right attitude. A born leader, that's what you are. A man to watch. You will go far. Helmuth blocks out the sound of Hugo's praise. He doesn't feel like a leader, a man to watch. He squirms inside as he stares at the words. God has blessed our fatherland by giving us Adolf Hitler. Is Gerard right? Does it make an idol out of Hitler? Does it mock God? Every day, it seems the Nazis hang more portraits of Adolf Hitler. Town squares and buildings are renamed after him. They evoke his name in praise and even in prayers, giving thanks to the Fuhrer for getting Germany back to its feet, for jobs, and for new factories that produce everything from tanks and airplanes and guns to the cheap people's radio. Helmuth knows he's supposed to support his country and its leaders, and yet the Nazis feel dark and threatening too. Every day, it seems, the Nazis pass more laws against the Jews. Helmuth sees terrible signs that read, Jewish swine and Jews out, Jews die. In school, Helmuth must pass tests that show he understands the difference between inferior races, such as the Jews, and superior Aryan race. How does such meanness and hate build a better Germany? Helmuth sits at the table, tapping his pencil impatiently as he wrestles with his feelings. Finally, he pushes them down and begins to write. He doesn't think about the meaning behind the words, just writes what Herr Vink wants to hear, writes what will earn him a high mark. The inside of Helmuth's head feels like crashing cymbals. The words, the sentences waver, bang apart, come back together again until at last he's finished. He stares at the handwritten pages and feels worse than a coward. He feels like a traitor to his brother, but mostly a traitor to himself, a traitor to his true feelings. That night, Gerard's side of the bed remains empty. Helmuth turns to on his stomach, then flops back again, thinks about Gerard, of how sure he is of everything, even what he wants to do with his life. As Helmuth drifts off to sleep, he wonders about his own future and what he has been put on this earth to do. Several days later, Herr Vink returns the graded essays. Helmuth has earned a high mark with only a brief comment. Well done. He stuffs the essay into his satchel and heads home. The satchel feels heavy, but not from the weight of books. It is heavy from the weight of the graded paper, the weight of Vink's praise.